quick.
All right. Welcome into another episode of Fantasy Rant. We are live on Sunday morning. Dr. DFS joined by my boy Hardy. And hopefully you got all that out of your system, Steve.
Pretty much.
All right, cool. All right. Well, the preseason is over. I think today we want to talk a little bit about what we think we might know going into week one. I've said it before 100 times. The landscape, the DFS landscape is far more competitive than it has ever been. And the early season uncertainty is a place where we can still find a really solid edge on the competition if we're looking in the right places. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what we should be thinking about going into week one and what we think we learned from the preseason, if anything. And then don't get mad at us when it's all wrong. Okay.
Pretty much.
Before we get started, man, we were talking pre-show here a little bit about the best ball drafts we've been doing and how they can sometimes mess with your head a little bit come year-long draft time. And you had a couple of draft boards we're going to share here today, man. I'm interested to look at those because I haven't seen them. I saw you shared them with me on Messenger, but I didn't really look at them too much. So let's get one up on stage here, shall we?
Yeah, so this is my my year-long. I only do 2 of them. One of them I've been in for over 20 years with all the same guys for 20 years. And then the other one's a work league. We use this site called Clicky Draft just to draft our teams with because you can do it online and everything. Now, Clicky Draft doesn't run our league. We still use ESPN for our league. But this allows us to do a lot of specialty things. And we project this up on the TV because we do live draft parties. But it allows you to do little things you can't do on ESPNs when you're drafted. Also, it's only $14 for the year. And you can do as many drafts on it as you want. And then whoever can't show up to the party, they can just log into the Clicky Draft, and it's like they're right there at the party. But
sick.
Yeah, so like if you look at my Dirty Laundry League here, and you look at the draft board, this one doesn't draft till next weekend. We do wherever you drafted a guy, that's where you can franchise him, but you lose the draft spot. So if you look at this one, you can see guys have already lost their draft spots based on where they drafted a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like this guy draft Brock Bowers in the 8th round. He's franchising him. So we plug him in on the 8th round, and that guy still has his first round pick. And so on and so on.
Cool.
But the one we did yesterday is the fun one. But here's our season long, my 20-year league. We put all of our franchise picks in the last row down here. So I don't want you guys to think, oh, what are they drafting these guys in the first round for? Our franchise players are in the bottom here.
Explain to them what the franchise picks are. Some guys might not know.
Oh, well, when you carry a team over from the previous year, each team's allowed to keep one player of their choosing. And just like you would in the NFL, kind of, you can put the franchise tag on a player.
Yeah. Is this the league I played with you in many years
I think you
ago?
were in it about 10, 12 years ago.
At least that. Maybe probably longer.
And so, as you can see, I'm drafting right here in the middle, got roids. That's how old the team is. But Jamal Chase wasn't franchised because the guy who had Jamal Chase also had Gibbs, I believe. So he franchised Gibbs down here, which left Jamal Chase. So Jamal Chase
Keep
is
saying
number one off the
Jamal.
board.
Keep saying Jamal is Jamar.
Jamar.
Nope. This is live. We're not supposed to be making any mistakes.
Oh, yeah. But doing best ball drafts, I was expecting these guys to drop way down here, but in my season longs, they didn't drop at all. They just went instantly.
Yeah, I like what you did here. You've been telling people in all our best ball draft episodes, wide receiver heavy, and that's what you did right away. For your first 2 picks are wideouts. I've been playing. I'm doing a draft right now. It's a slow draft. We've been drafting for feels like 2 days, but it's a super flex, right? And so
those are fun.
Yeah, but everybody took quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds, basically. So I missed out. I was picking 11th out of 12, so I missed out on any good quarterbacks. So I don't want to say it here because I think some of them are listening, but I did go wide receiver heavy. I was channeling my inner Hardy.
Well, you got to draft based on the league setting.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. This looks like a good little draft here. You got Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, Jaden Daniels. That's a good first 3, man. I love the Trevion Henderson, man, and you still got Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, franchised him.
Man, that's a good-looking team. The Alvin Kamara, I don't know. That's going to be I was on the show with Chris, I think, Thursday night, and we talked a little bit about that Saints unit and how I wonder just how bad the Saints are going to be this year. So I wonder just how good Alvin Kamara can even possibly be. I think he'll get fed, man, and he'll have targets, but I just don't know. I just wonder how good he can even possibly be.
I think you're completely right. Like with this team I drafted, I am hurting at running back all the way down. I mean, I had to start stabs, but to the Saints situation, yeah, who knows what they're going to do and how much are they going to really feed Alvin Kamara? But 5th round, kind of had to pull a veteran running back on my team.
Yeah, I do like. Scroll down. I see you drafted Jaden Blue.
Yeah, kind of got him in the 12th round.
I like that. I think I'm kind of high on Jaden Blue. That was one of the ambiguous running back situations I wanted to talk about. The Cowboys backfield, and I think maybe I'm higher on Jaden Blue than a lot of people. But I just remember when Prescott was healthy a few years back, man, Pollard had a season. I was just looking at his stats this morning. He rushed for 1,000 yards. He had 55 catches. This was 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what my point is. That's what a healthy Dak Prescott can bring to the Cowboys. And not just a healthy Dak Prescott, but now they got another target there with Pickens. I just feel like that offense is going to be a lot better than people think. And so I'm excited about Jaden Blue. I don't think Javonte Williams is going to be the man there, but I guess he could be. It seems like
he will start. He will start the season. As right now, Blue's guy. 3rd on the depth chart.
Yeah. He's the one I'm most excited about, though. So I think you got a good pick there.
But that's really all I have for the season-long stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Yeah, you just wanted to flex your team a little bit. I see.
Hey, I said that I'm hurting that running back bad here.
Let me ask you, this guy still drafted Christian McCaffrey 2 overall?
Yeah.
That's something we need to talk about.
I think the Brian Robinson trade was more for safety. I don't think he's going to eat too much in the CMC, but CMC's health issues over the last few years can't be ignored.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that they brought Brian Robinson Jr. in to do a 50-50 timeshare with Christian McCaffrey or even a 60-40. I don't
Yeah,
think that. I think best case scenario for McCaffrey owners is Brian Robinson's been brought in to give CMC some like uh what do they call it, load management in the
yeah,
NBA. I think we might
exactly.
see I think we might a week 7, McCaffrey might get a week off. I'm not saying he will get a week off. I'm just saying I think they're going to plan some games. They're going to pick and choose their spots where they lighten McCaffrey's workload a little bit, where Brian Robinson may feature a little more. I think that's best case scenario for McCaffrey owners. I think worst case, I think he's played 8 games over the last 2 seasons.
Sounds about right.
He had what do you have? 2 bad Achilles tendons last year.
I,
So I, as someone who's dealt with that injury, and now I'm no Christian McCaffrey, but I think that I don't know, man. I think he's not as healthy as McCaffrey owners would like to think. I think they're pretty worried about him, and those type of injuries just they creep up. They have a lot of they nag, man. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with
I
what you're saying.
yeah, I don't know that I ever could have drafted him with the second pick.
Well, to be honest, I was expecting him to drop to me, but I was expecting Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, and Malik Neighbors to all be drafted ahead of me. And I was like, okay, I'll have to take the gamble on Christian McCaffrey. Kind of glad I don't have to take that gamble now in this season-long league.
Yeah, you and I were talking about it before your draft. I remember highlighting Ashton Jeanty here and thinking like that's kind of the guy I would have loved to have had fall to me at 5. Um, I just the more and more I think about it, Pete Carroll, he loves to run the football, man, and this could be his Marshawn Lynch, right? So I guess we'll see there. But yeah, McCaffrey, I don't know.
What I love about Ashton Gently is in a keeper league like I'm in here, if I draft him his rookie year and he becomes the next Adrian Peterson or something like that, he'll be on my team for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So that and then Christian McCaffrey, what are you going to have? Another year or 2 most with him, and that's in a perfect scenario. So I would have took I'd take Gent T also.
Yeah, but I think you did perfectly fine with Brian Thomas Jr. here.
Yeah, PPR league, catch them balls.
All right, so we can leave that on screen for a minute. I just think we want to talk about a little bit, kind of review the preseason, what we think we might know, what kind of edges we could find going into week 1. I mean, anything stand out to you? What were some of the big standouts to you? Surprises, or things that you're kind of like, ooh, I like this for week 1 that we learned in the preseason.
What I love most about the preseason, especially when it comes to like DraftKings daily fantasy, is the salaries were put out on these players 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then preseason started. And then if you go back and look at some of these salaries of these guys who were projected to be, guys who were projected to be starters aren't going to be starters now. So you got guys like Joe Flacco. I think he's like $4,900 on DraftKings, and he's going to start the game. And then you got, and then another thing I love about this time of the year is you got guys like Michael Penix. His salary was put out 3-4 weeks ago. He didn't play any preseason, so he's healthy to go now. But you're going to get him at
$5,600,
a turd price.
Yeah.
And I would say a guy like this, by the end of the season, he's going to be $6,400, $6,200. So that's what I take away from the preseason is how guys are priced before preseason starts, and then start finding these wide receivers. I mean, some of these wide receivers who are going to be number 2s and number 3s this year, they're all like $3,600. That's what I love most about the preseason.
Yeah, let's scroll down here a little bit and start looking at some of these guys. Keyshawn Booty. I'm just going to scroll right past Valdez Scantling.
Yeah. We don't need to stop there.
The Keyshawn Booty, this is something we were talking about before the episode too. These Patriots receivers week 1 are dirt cheap, man.
I mean, you got the Tampa Bay wide receiver, Ibuka.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you've heard all preseason was Ibuka, because you got Godwin out.
Mm-hmm. Where is he?
You're going to get he's 4,600 to start week 1.
Yeah, love that, man. Look at that. Love that.
And
yeah, I mean, he's gonna be the Chris Godwin.
Absolutely, to start the season. Yeah. And then back to preseason. What's his name? McMillan for Tampa Bay?
Yep.
Like he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
So in the preseason, they lost a wide receiver, which elevates this Ibuka, elevates some of these other guys.
Yeah. The DraftKings pricing on receivers for people who may be new to DraftKings, you're gonna also. I mean, they're all pretty soft going into week 1 here. You'll see. I think Brian Thomas at times last year was in the 7s. Jamar Chase would push 9,000 some weeks. So,
yeah.
Nico was a guy that we were paying 8,800 for last year. Same with Amon-Ra. So I like the week 1 pricing is pretty soft on these guys. It's usually like that, but which makes people want to play the Jamar Chases and the Nico Collins, which is something we're also going to get into here in a few minutes. Okay, cool. I like that. I think some of the stuff I was sort of hoping to get clarity on for the preseason were some of these like running back situations and these backfields. I mean, we know obviously Bijan, Alpha, top dog here on DraftKings, highest priced running back. Janty looking like he's in a great spot. But some of these guys down here, I mean, Tyrone Tracy, what can we expect from this Giants backfield? The Patriots backfield, Trevion Henderson, what can we expect there? Jerome Ford, what's going to happen in Cleveland? There's some pretty ambiguous spots here that, just kind of like Samson. Is he going to be a week 1 starter? You know what I mean? I mean, there's just still some questions we have here. Oh, this button sucks. Going into week 1 about some of these backfields. The Jacksonville Jaguars situation stands out to me here. Let me pull them up let me isolate them. Here we go. So let's look at their backfield real quick and see what we can. Let's get off of Carolina. What a game that's going to be week 1. So you look these guys are all cheap. ETN 5,400. Bigsby, I think we can sort of, I don't know. Which guy are you playing either one of these week 1 on DK or either of these running backs making your player pool? I believe the Jaguars are going to produce to the running back position this year, especially with Liam Cohen calling plays. I mean, we saw it last year with Bucky Irving and Rashad White. I think we're going to see a similar thing with the Jacksonville backfield. Just who are we going to play that game all year long? Where you remember you and I would be talking every Saturday night. Which Tampa Bay running back? Is it Bucky? Is it Rashad? Are we going to have those conversations about ETN and Bigsby and maybe even LaQuint Allen?
Yeah, when I'm looking at like what you're pulling up here now with ETN, Bigsby, and Tootin is 3rd on the depth chart now. That's a tough one week to week in DFS. it's almost like, what do you want out? You know, Tank Bigsby's not known for his catching abilities. I think if he could catch the ball, he would be more of the starter. But because he's not targeted that much, that's why you have ETN at the top of that depth chart, which also means when he's at the top of the depth chart, that's probably another reason why he's the most expensive running back there.
Right.
It's because of that pass catching ability. Now, when I say pass catching ability, he's no CMC catching the ball out there. I mean, what does he usually have? 3 to 5 catches a game max.
But I think that you're right about the targets there. But I think I project an expanded role, not expanded. I project more targets for him this year. We saw what we see with that Buccaneers offense with Liam Cohen really produced to the running back. That's the system. That's what Jacksonville's going to be this year, probably. So to me, that gets me excited about ETN. Right, week 1 on DraftKings. Maybe Bigsby's more of a FanDuel play because they're maybe that's the guy you bring in on the goal line to try to bang it in. Maybe he falls into the end zone a couple times. Who knows? Maybe he becomes more like your FanDuel choice week 1. But yeah, I agree with you. I think ETN is the lead dog there for whatever that means. I project him at least early in the season. He's the kind of Rashad White role. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I was just looking at his stats last year. ETN had 52 targets, and the year before that, he had 73.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Tank Bigsby, last year he had 12 targets, and the year before he had 4 targets.
Yeah.
So that's
Bigsby's not going to catch the ball. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So a guy like Bigsby, especially on a DraftKings week to week, especially going into week 1 here, maybe, I don't know. He's not on my radar, but ETN definitely is.
And then I like to look at this also. Bigsby last year had 168 carries, where ETN was right behind him, 150 carries. So they're 50-50 in the backfield, but ETN is definitely getting all the catches. Yep. Now, that's going to probably change a little bit more this year, and we'll see how that plays out as the season goes.
Yeah. All right, let's look at some of these quarterbacks going into week 1 as well here. Let's see. Get off this game. Just get off this game. Come on. All right. We were talking. This is a good time. Before we get into quarterbacks, this is a good time to bring up what you were talking about prior to the show, Steve. Matter of fact, let's just bump off of here for a second. You had Steve's been doing some research. Love it. Tell us a little bit about these stacks. So before we get into it, in DFS, if you're new to it, a good strategy, a necessary strategy, we like to stack the offenses. That means quarterback +1, oftentimes +2. So in doing that, it's not enough of an edge just to say we're going to do quarterback +2. Now to make that profitable for us and to set us apart, when you're mass building or when you're just building one, you kind of want to say, okay, how much of my salary do I even want to spend on a stack? We're looking at prices here. Joe Burrow, 7,000. Oh, excuse me, 6,900. Jaden Daniels, 7,000. Their pass catchers are pretty expensive. I mean, Terry McLaurin's not that high, but if you play Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that's going to cost you. Let's see here. Let me get over to Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow is 7,000. Jamar Chase is our highest price receiver at 8,100. So that's an expensive combination. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about the research you've been doing and what kind of price points we want to try to aim for to make this stack optimal and most profitable for us?
So a lot of times when we're building lineups on that, me and you usually build on Saturday nights together over the phone, on the internet together and stuff like that. Now we're not trying to build the exact same lineups or trying to have completely unique lineups that all of us have. What we're trying to do is just pick each other's brains. And some of the things that we do is like, all right, so we want 4 to 5 quarterbacks this week. And then you'll tell me which ones you're looking at. I'll tell you which ones I'm looking at. And then we'll kind of pick at each other. You're like, hey, this guy costs too much. He's outside of our range that we like to be at. And we do that with almost all of our positions when me and you are building lineups on the phone together on Saturday nights. Mm-hmm. But I like to look at what kind of little edges can help us be more profitable. And one of the things is, how much is that stack going to cost you? Because any idiot, like you said, could just look at it like, I'm going to put Jamal Chase, Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins, and I'm going to build around it. Well, this optimal strategy says that's not going to hit, because that stack alone is $21,500. That means you ain't got shit to draft the rest of your team. Yeah. So I went through years of data, and it shows the most optimal price range for a GPP winner is between $14,000 and $17,000. That stack right there is over $4,000 above the highest you're supposed to spend. So I like to look for little stuff like that. Now, that stack right there will win this year. It will win in small rooms. It might even take down a GPP, but it's not optimal. It probably has like a 5% chance of actually winning. So I don't like to play those numbers. I like to play something that has like a 25-30% chance of winning, and that's a stack between 14 and 17,000.
All right, so I'm gonna delete these guys here, and let's just sort of for fun here while we're on the screen. You said between 14 and 17,000, right?
Is the optimal. Hey, if it's 17,200, it's fine in my opinion. You know what I mean?
So let's take a look here. Let's say we are high on Michael Penix going into week 1, right? And we decide.
I've done this one. Yell out his price, and I'll add it up as we go.
Okay, so Penix is 5,600. I think we'll go to Drake London. Yeah. Let's see. Drake London, 6,500. What game is that? Who do they have week 1? I'm trying to find.
They're playing it's about Tampa Bay. It should be a shootout.
This might be a shootout. All right, so this is one here where we go, okay, we want Penix, we want London. Penix isn't a guy that's going to get it done with his legs, really. So at that price range, he may not need a second pass catcher. But if Penix hits the 300-yard bonus and has 2 or 3 touchdowns, he probably didn't just do it with London. Okay, and this is where that correlation comes in. So he probably brought 2 pass catchers with them, and maybe I know everybody's singing.
Well, click it to just Atlanta so you can see.
Yeah,
the price range of those guys.
All right, so down here we got a Darnell Mooney at 5,000. Ray's at 3,700. Kadero Hodge probably won't be in my week 1 player pool.
But remember, you got tight end also.
Well, yeah, I know. So we're doing the.
You don't want to click it.
we're doing. My mouse doesn't want to click it. We're doing the yearly. Is this Kyle Pitts' year routine?
Is that his name?
Yeah. So let's throw Pitts in just because I know this is going to be the most popular Michael Penix Drake London.
What's that? 4,300.
We have a total. 11. So that's I don't know.
16,400.
All right, thank you. All right, so now
we're 600 underneath our cap.
We are 600 underneath our cap. So now for our listeners, just so to kind of see how the sausage is made. At this point, Steve and I would say, okay, well, who are we going to run this back with? Because now, if everybody, this is going to be a popular, I don't know how popular Michael Penix is going to be week 1, but
it will be.
If he is a popular choice at quarterback, then he's the most popular pairings with him are going to be London and Pitts. So we don't necessarily have a very unique trio here. So we want to maybe run it back on the Tampa side because I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure the over-under on this game is at least 46, 47 points, right?
Oh, I would say higher. I'd say this would be one of those 50 burgers.
We hope it would be. So who would we want to run it back with on the Tampa side that you would say? Is there a let me ask you this. Is there a price point at which the game stack falls out of that optimal range?
I haven't really dug into that too much.
Okay.
But I would say this is where checking your boxes for your positions. So if you want to run it back, somebody on that Tampa Bay team should already be on your list of players that have checked the boxes.
So
you're not gonna throw a Shepherd way down there for 3,100 in there because there's no way he's going to be checking boxes for you when you do your research. But there you go, you got him right there.
Yeah.
What is?
Throw Egbuka in there. Now, this is also going to be popular, but we're just doing this for
goofing
to show you. Yeah. Yeah. So go. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, you also have somebody else there in Tampa Bay that would probably be a good run back, and it's at that running back position.
That's what I was going to ask. This is because at least last year under Liam Cohen, we were able to produce to the running back, even in shootouts. And normally the running backs that are going to check our boxes are going to be favorites at home with, good favorites, 5 to 7 point favorites at home. These are the running backs like you sort of begin your week targeting. In a shootout, we probably like Bucky Irving, but he's expensive.
But we only spent $16K on our stack, so we could run it back with somebody like a Bucky Irving. If we're spending something like right at 17 or even close to 18K, that's when we'd have to go with the cheaper wide receiver on the team or something like that, which is stacks I don't usually like to do except for week 1 because all the pricing's pretty soft.
Bucky Irving is getting a lot of targets last year too. That's why I like this guy. He fits well in a shootout, so we throw Bucky Irving in here. Yep. All right. So now look, you got 5,300 remaining per position. Your defense is going to be cheap, and you're probably going to want to find one more low range pass catcher. But you sort of get the idea.
Yeah, just throw a random cheap defense in there real quick. Just any random. Keep it around like 2,400. This will give you more accurate how much you got left per position.
Just any. So people know, since we're on this screen, when you're looking to punt at defense, a lot of times cheap and at home. You want to find those two things.
Low games total also helps, but the first two, you're correct. Cheap and at home.
I don't know if I want to play the Browns against the.
Well, they're in that price range, so I just throw them in there just to give a. And now you're up to 6K per position left.
You can do a lot with 6K per position.
You can do a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I've finished stacks looking at like 4,500 per position left. I've been like, all right, we're gonna throw some turds in here, man, but make it happen.
And then from here, if I was putting this in like say a single entry or a multiplier game, from here I would just continue hand building, but I would hand build with my players I've already checked the boxes with. I would have 4 to 6 running backs. I'll be like, okay, which one of those 4 or 6 will fit in here? And then I'd have like 8 to 12 wide receivers. Okay, which ones fit in here? And so on and so on. I wouldn't just be looking for random guys that fit. I already have my list of players that I want to build around this stack.
So for the trying to be conscious that we have probably a lot of year-round fantasy players here. When Hardy talks about hand building, there's something that a lot of us DFS guys do. We build we build like maybe 200 to 300 lineups a weekend, and we use optimizers to mostly churn out those lineups. Hand building is just what we're doing right here on screen, just kind of sorting through. But we will also be using uh, a lot of research, and he keeps, you mentioned checking our boxes, checking our boxes. Um, we're going to unveil next week what we call the Fantasy Impact Index. That's going to weigh a lot of those boxes that we're talking about checking. But for instance, just without getting too far into the weeds here, wide receivers, some of the things we're looking for that you want to check, you know, check boxes with. Um, home or away doesn't really too matter too much with receiver. I wrote down some things here. Hold on, let me get it out. I'm gonna find which notebook is my NFL notebook. Yeah, so some of the things we're looking at with wide receivers, favored, game total. I like a game total like that's at least in the top 5 of all the totals for the day. So like, that's usually going to be something mid to upper 40s, maybe low 50s game total. Um, with wide receivers on DraftKings, it's the team total over 25 points. That's one of the boxes we like to check. Is the team total over 25 points. 27 is preferable. If we can go 27 plus, that's like screaming, I love this wide receiver. Um, targets. Do they average more than around 7 targets a game? So I'm just going to pull up Jamar Chase here for you, and I'll have a link starting next week on everything where everybody can click on the Google sheet, and all this data will be there for anybody who wants to see it. No subscription necessary. It's free to look at. You won't have to go to the DraftKings or FanDuel site and go through here and look at, okay, let me scroll over to targets and add these targets up and see if he gets at least 7 per game. The per game targets will be on screen there for you. But you know, you look at Jamar Chase, 14, 15, 8, 11. This is obviously a guy that checks the target box. Um, red zone usage, especially for receivers. Do they get targets in the red zone? Um, and salary is a big thing on DraftKings. This Drake London, he's kind of in that the most optimal salary range for your wide receivers on DraftKings is between 5 to 7,000 per receiver. When you find guys that are checking all these boxes, I mean, they're must plays. So Drake London, to me, he's going to be a week 1 screamer for me. Um, guys like Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, JSN. These are guys I'm going to be targeting week 1 for sure. So that's sort of what we mean when we say check boxes. Sorry, I didn't mean to step all over you there, Steve.
You're good. That's exactly what we're talking about. I think the check boxing comes best when we're doing it with our quarterbacks and our running backs, wide receivers, obviously. But I feel like we always have it pretty narrowed in on quarterbacks and running backs. It's that wide receiver spot that's usually the tough one on DraftKings, especially when you're trying to win some money.
Yeah, wide receiver. Yeah, every year, at least the past few years, wide receiver has become a more wide open crapshoot, really, because it's a deep position, and the alphas are, they're at the top. There's a tier here. Um, you look at guys like Chase, Nakua Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But then when you get down into this, those are obviously like the elite. But after you get below, I don't know, after you get below these top 2, there's an argument to be made. There's not a lot of difference between a lot of these guys. It's just gonna depend on the game situation. So yeah, you're right. Receiver gets wide open most weeks. I think the checking off your boxes works best with the running backs. I mean, because you really want to try to key in on the right guys there. Because one thing I've learned, and I know you've learned too, playing the popular running back is okay, but finding the popular running back that's just gonna step on his dick that weekend, you want to avoid those landmines. And we made good money last year jumping off of chalk running backs in bad spots. And what I mean by that are guys that are coming in, you know, to teams, the primary running back goes down. But I think we saw it with the Colts a little bit. Maybe a bad example. But teams that don't produce well to the running back typically, even when the starter goes down and you get the cheap $4,700 running back behind him come in, you got to remember this isn't an offense that produces to the running back very much. So I know he's $4,700. I know he's popular. Everybody's going to play him. It's not a good situation. I'm not going to play him. I think we did well last year finding those spots and jumping off of them because there was a
Yeah.
few years. I forget the running back with the Falcons who did it to me just over and over for like 3 weeks straight a couple years back, but I just kept going back there every week and just getting gashed, bro.
Yeah, there's a reason why, first of all, they're second or third on the depth chart. And then there's also a reason why they're $4,200 and the starter's $8,100, So
Yep.
these are things you have to take into account. But I think me and you, I think it was a couple years ago, that's when we really started not caring about ownership.
Yeah.
Not so much of like we got to fade this guy because he's too owned. We just started caring about ownership in a way that, okay, this guy is going to be very popular. How can we build around him that's a little different than everybody else? Or like you said, how can we avoid the landmines? And we did pretty good last year avoiding the landmines, especially at running back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was every year I try to learn something new with DFS and carry it with me the next season. That was the big thing, avoiding the landmines. And that because when we talk about edges and when we talk about how sharp everybody's becoming, it really is true. Like it used to be in daily fantasy sports that if you had good research, you had a good subscription to some information, uh, you were just you were better than a lot of the players that were playing. It's not like that anymore because everybody's reading the player pool. Everybody knows which 5 quarterbacks to target every week. Everybody knows which 7 or 8 running backs to target. Everybody knows. So you have to build differently around those or find the one that everybody's on and know when to jump off of it. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we did pretty well with that last year.
Is there any better feeling in DFS than being on a guy, let's say a wide receiver that's like 4,800, and you're starting him week after week and nobody else is starting him, and you're just collecting 12, 15 fantasy points a week from him, and every week his price keeps getting higher and higher, and then he hits that benchmark and you go, Steve, he crossed the 7K mark, we can't start him. And as soon as we stop starting him, his production just starts going down.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
because we stick to our thing. This is our model. This is who we start. This is who we don't start. I love that in DFS.
Yeah, I do too. And it takes a lot of patience and discipline because there's weeks where you're going to be like, damn, man, I want to play Jamar Chase. The Bengals are, they're getting 28-point team total this week. Like, Burrow's going to have 300 yards and maybe Jamar Chase is a bad example because there's
No,
not
he's
a lot of
perfect
time.
example.
Yeah, because
His price right now on week one's not a good
right,
example.
right,
But
right.
week 6, week 7, when he's $9,100, he's the
Yeah,
perfect example of what
yeah,
you're about to say.
yeah. You just like because with DK, and here's another thing. We'll pull it up here. When you're looking at this $50,000, this is for people who are new to this, okay, mostly, and also casual players. But this $50,000 salary, when we talk about the contest we're going to be playing in, let's say we're playing in a 100-man single entry room, low stakes, $3-4 for an entry, top prize, might win 500-600 bucks. Like this salary 50,000, you do this thing in your head where you say, okay, this room I need to score 150 to 180 points, and so I need 3.5x on this salary. I need For every $1,000, I need my player to be scoring 3 or 4 points. And so you start looking at the Burrows. Okay, Burrow, let's just say 7,000 for round math. Can Burrow score 21 to 25 points on DK? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
When you get to Jamar Chase at $9,200, $9,300, now you're pushing 40 points. No, you're pushing like 35 points that you need from Jamar Chase. Can he get there? Absolutely. He's done it a bunch, but well, I wouldn't say a bunch. I mean, look, 22. When you're 8,500, 22 is almost not enough. Okay. You see some of these prices here, 22.2 at 8,400. 48 obviously solid. But when you're 85, 8,800, 26 ain't enough. You know, 8,600, 11 ain't enough. So you more often than not, if a wide receiver creeps up to that $9,000 range, you're not going to get 27 to 35 points out of him. And so you have to just say to yourself, yeah, he might score 20 points today, and that'll be great. I'd love to have 20 points locked in. But when you're playing against 1,000 other lineups, you can't really blow $9,000 on 20 points. You got to be able to find that somewhere else, because a lot of people are going to play Jamar Chase and a lot of people are only going to score 20 points with him. So to win those rooms, you got to find it somewhere else.
You said something pretty perfect there.
Go for it.
You were talking about so we look at these players like stock prices basically. Mm-hmm. And when you said he cost 8,500 and he was scoring 22, 23 points, that's not good, because even at 3.5, he needs almost 30 fantasy points to be his floor. Mm-hmm. That's not going to help you win, because so many other people started him. Yep. Honestly, and then if you're getting into bigger tournaments, like say you want to play the Millie Maker, you almost have to get 5x from him. And that's 45 fantasy points. What did he do it once or twice last year?
And because let me explain that a little bit. Well, first, to answer your question, he got over 40 once, twice, 3 times. He got over 30 3, 4 times. Jamar Chase at mid 8,500, you're right, needs to be getting about 27 to 32, 33 points to meet his value. And that's at 3 to 4x. What Hardy was saying, what you're saying about needing 5x for like the Millie Maker, if you're playing in a room that has 100,000 lineups you're going against, the top score is just going to be so much higher than in a room with 1,000 lineups. That 1,000 lineup room, the top score might be 180, 190. But when you have 10,000 or 20,000 or 40,000 potential outcomes, that top score can creep. I mean, we've seen Millie Maker lineups get into the 250, 260 range. And so you're needing, at that point, it's not a true 5x per player, because that usually was one game went off. So the quarterback, the wide receiver, and the run back wide receiver all put up like monster ceiling games. They had like 40 points apiece. So, but
you still got to average 5x.
You still got to average 5x, right? So they did it with like $6,000 quarterbacks and $6,500 wide receivers. You can't have a Jamar Chase in there at 8,500 throwing up a 17 spot or a 25 spot even. So there's a reason why earlier when I was going through the checking the boxes, that salary range that I mentioned for wide receivers between 5 and 7,000, that has become, for big, large field contests, that's become the price point that seems most optimal. 5 to 7,000 are, if you look at 90% of the winning lineups, they're going to have receivers that were in that price point. So there's a reason why you don't see a Millie Maker lineup have a $8,500 wide receiver in it, because that's just not optimal.
Usually. I mean, it's just again, it's going to
for a
happen.
tournament.
It's going to happen a couple times a year.
Right.
But what's that? That's 10% at the max. 5% of the milli makers are going to have a $9,000 wide receiver. I'd rather play the other side of those odds.
Agreed. So I asked you a question before the show about all right, so we know the Bengals are going to be crap on defense. It's going to be the same thing this year as it was last year. It may even be worse if they happen to move Trey Hendrickson in the next week. They're going to be worse on defense. So when we talk about wanting to find value, do we go? I know I feel like this is actually going to be kind of popular. But if you look down here at 4,900 and you see that green 27th, that's how bad the Bengals are against the pass last year. That's not a huge projection for Flacco, but if he could score 20 points, Flacco could end up. If Flacco scores 20 points, he probably took a receiver with him. So, and you look at the Cleveland receivers. Let me just isolate that game for a second to make my point here. Oh, it was the first one. So, to make my point, Flacco is 4,900. If he gets 20, 21 points, he probably brought a receiver with them. Maybe it's Judy. God, they don't have anything, do they? All right, so it would have to be Judy probably, but at 5,400, he's well within that price point for us. Is he in play week 1 against the Bengals? I feel like he is.
So let's look at it like this real quick. You got Judy, right? If he 4X's his salary, it's only 21 fantasy points, right? Burrow, if he 4X's his salary, it's only about 20 fantasy points. And if
Flacco, you meant
Flacco, I'm sorry. And then if Njoku does the same thing, it's about 20 fantasy points.
Yeah.
But that combination is cheap. Like you're only spending, I think we did the math earlier, like $14K for that combo. Dude, you could stack up everything. And it's against Cincinnati. So guess who your run back is?
Jamar Chase.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm getting excited just building some of these cheap lineups. I can't wait for week 1, dude.
Put that in. Put the Flacco, Judy, Njoku, and then see what our average salary is left. Maybe throw that cheap defense in just to get the itch. I love building. I just love building.
All right, Flacco, Judy. I don't know if Flacco needs 2 pass catchers, right?
Well, I'm saying that because this will probably be a high over-under when the lines come out. And I think Flacco Judy might be somewhat popular. And when I say popular, he's not going to be 20%, but he's going to be maybe 10% owned. You know what I mean? Because of how cheap he is.
So DK, full PPR. So let's do the experiment here. How does Judy get to 20 points? That's
Well, click on him. See how he did last year.
Okay. So that's 12 catches, 94 yards. That's how he gets to 20.
And he didn't even catch a touchdown that week.
Right. So he had some good weeks. Look at this. I sort of forgot that. He was actually
a target machine.
Solid contributor. So this is what I think Judy is, okay? On a week-to-week basis, 7 receptions, 70, 80 yards. But let's say this Bengals matchup, we're looking for the ceiling. So 7 catches is 7 points. 80 yards is 8 points. That's 15. He falls in for a touchdown. That's 6. That's 21. So that's pretty easy to imagine. That's pretty easy to imagine. Let's say Njoku does the same thing. Maybe he gets 6 catches, 50, 60 yards, falls in for a touchdown. He's going to get less
yardage, but he's going to be more touchdown dependent to hit that 20.
He's a guy that 8 receptions, 7 receptions, 9 receptions, 5, 10, 5. He was hurt a little bit. So, if he gets 5 for 50 yards and a touchdown, we're pushing 20. He would need like 6 or 7 catches. And then if he does that,
I'm pretty sure if we look at Njoku, he is targeted a lot more once they're in the red zone also. If I don't have those numbers in front of us,
I don't either.
but I have the feeling that would check a box for us.
Yeah. So my point here is that it's pretty easy to imagine Judy and Njoku both getting off with Flacco. And then and I don't think Flacco is going to hit a 300-yard bonus in this, but I don't think he needs it at 4,900. I think Flacco needs 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. And there we are. So
and we're hoping they all go to Judy and they all go to David.
Right. Okay. And then so now the Bengals had to score a lot of points too. So you run that back. You got your Jamar Chase here. Let me click on them here. All right. So now you still got 5,300 per position. And let's find a cheap defense. I don't want it to be one of these.
Just put the Browns in there because the price is right. Because I want to do something else in a second.
Okay.
On those same teams.
Okay. Just for anybody watching this, we would never play the Browns defense against the Bengals. We're just doing for the price point. That's all.
So yeah, you look, we're at that 61,500 that we had earlier when we had a better stack because we had the Michael Penix, we had the Drake London, Pitts. I don't really know, but and then we put in Bucky Irvin. And remember, we were at 6,100. We did the same thing here, but we got a Jamal Chase. We got a 3-man stack. Yeah. But what I really love, Chris, is take out Jamal Chase.
Okay.
And click back on Cincinnati only. And go to running back.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because I would play this as Cincinnati got ahead, and they're just going to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And you just saved, a good 1,000 or more? And you plug him in there. We were at 61 per position. How much now?
65.
65. Yeah. And that's how you build lineups for draft for tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So I think Flacco's in play. Absolutely. I would not be secure with Shedeur Sanders in this matchup. Just for the reference, it's not always about the price. It's about, it's got to be the right guy too.
So. Yeah. And he's playing at home. That checks your box.
That definitely checks the box. Flacco at home, they're not going to be favored, but
no, but they will have probably a decent team total. Let me see if if the team totals are out for week 1.
They are. I gotta. Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of these we can do. A lot, just looking at this, I mean, is Stratford going to be ready for week 1? I think that's the news I'm kind of waiting on.
A lot of us were thinking like he was dealing with, he is, but he's dealing with a back injury that he's just not going to be able to come out of. But now they're saying he's perfectly fine. So I don't know.
Here's a guy week 1 playing the Texans. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be ready, and I don't know if I like that matchup. So I don't know if somebody like Stafford's making my player pool, but definitely Tua, definitely Penix. To look, this Drake May, week 1 against the Raiders. I know the Raiders are going to be much improved. I actually think they'll be a good football team this year, but Drake May is another guy, 5,500. He also has some rushing floor. Perfect kind of guy you look for. Maybe he's a better play over on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but I don't think he's a bad play on DraftKings. I just think he'd be an even better play on FanDuel if his price is around the same. I guess I could go look at it. I'll wait till
is Buffalo and Baltimore on this week 1 slate?
No, I think they play Monday night, right?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. It says September 7th, which is week 1. I don't know why it says that. Maybe do they play early?
I don't see him.
That's the highest over
Oh,
under for the
they
whole
might
weekend.
play Sunday. They probably play Sunday night.
Oh, you're probably right. You're
Yeah.
probably right because they got a 52.5 over under.
Mm.
But from the games that we're actually going to be playing with on this week 1 slate, you got Detroit at Green Bay, a 49.5, and you got Tampa Bay at Atlanta, a 48.5. And then what was the other one that we were kind of talking about? Cincinnati. Where's Cincinnati?
Yeah.
That one's a little bit lower, but it's a 44.5.
So that's on the lower end. That's probably not one I look to get loaded up on. You said
Exactly.
Detroit and Green Bay. That's a good one.
Yeah, 49.5.
Let's look here. I think both of these guys, Goff is on the edge of where I want to be, but I think really I'd be happier playing Jordan Love in this game.
Yeah, because he's at home.
Yep. At home.
Save a little bit of money.
Yep. Yeah. So somebody like Jordan Love's probably in play. Really, we love that Tampa Atlanta game week 1. And I think it's going to be a popular spot to go to. But a lot of people are going to play Mayfield, Egbuka, and Evans. And maybe less will play Penix, but I feel like he'll be popular too.
And I'll build some when we're talking about these in the future weeks and stuff like that. A lot of times we'll be talking about the other side, like we're going to be playing the Atlanta side. But just because we're not talking so much about the Tampa Bay side in that situation doesn't mean I'm not going to make game stacks for Tampa Bay. I'm definitely making some game stacks for Tampa Bay inside of Atlanta, also inside that dome. It's just, why talk about starting Saquon Barkley for 25 minutes? We don't need to talk about Saquon Barkley for 25 minutes. You know what Saquon Barkley is.
But while you have those totals in front of you, will you look at the New England Las Vegas game?
Yeah, that one's a little bit lower, 42.5 also. Man. It's actually lower than the Cincinnati. But I don't have the individual team totals right now either.
I have them, and I wish I'd have finished it in my Google Sheets before we started this. It would just take too much of a detour from the show to grab them now. But for the next show, I'll have that stuff handy. But
here's the thing: the New England stack for week 1 against Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. It's a low team total total score, but that just means you need to stack one wide receiver with him. You don't need a double stack.
Yeah.
You don't need the run back. You just have because the quarterback's not going to be started as much as the other ones. The wide receiver also that you stack him with is not going to be started as much. And then when you put them together, they're started even less together.
Here's how I would play it. Here's how I would play it. Because Drake May doesn't check a whole lot of boxes. He is the home favored quarterback. They're favored in this game. I do know that. He's the home favorite quarterback. The game total's low. His QBR won't be very high. But he checks the salary box. So because he's kind of on the fringe of where I would be, I think the way I would handle Drake May week 1, if he's popular, maybe I'm backing off. If he's not popular, because he's on the fringe of where I would want to go, maybe I'm going over the field on the Patriots. So it's just going to tip for me. That's where ownership would come into. When I'm undecided on a guy, if they're right on the fringe, I let ownership decide for me. Are they popular? Then I'm gonna back off. If they're not popular, I'm gonna play it.
So like Drake May, what's that price on him? It's at
5,500. Yeah.
This is a guy that's going to be 6,200 probably by mid-season, and he has rushing ability.
Yeah, he's got a rushing floor. I mean, let's look at it because there was a lot of times last year. 32, 30, 59, 26, 27, 24, 95, 46. Look, we can safely say, especially with Josh McDaniels at the helm now, and it was a complete dumpster fire on offense for these guys last year. There was nothing going right. This is going to be a much more refined offense this year. They look good in camp. They look good in preseason. I think we can pretty much pencil in May for 3 to 4 points automatically on his rushing floor. That's what I think. I
So
think
think
you
about that for a second, Chris, because if you're saying 3 or 4 points per week just from rushing,
Mhm.
that's what you get for passing for 300 yards. So he
Right.
doesn't have to pass for 300 yards now
Right.
because
Yep.
he's getting 3 or 4 points every week just rushing, and occasionally he's going to find the end zone when he's rushing, and that's going to be 2 additional points per touchdown than a passing quarterback. So that's why a guy like May is so dangerous early in the season. His price is low, and you could really load up on him.
Yeah. I think I 100%. When we're talking about needing 25 points, if we think we've got 4 built in on rushing floor, it's easy to think if he rushed for 30, 40 yards, maybe he falls in for a touchdown. Let's throw 6 more on that. Now we're at 10. Now we only need 230, 240 yards and another touchdown. And we're pushing up right on where we need to be for him to exceed and get like tournament winning value.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, I'll go back to it. If he's gonna be popular, maybe I'm gonna lay off. But if he's not, then for me that says sneaky spot. Let me play. And as a Patriots fan, I love playing them. I love when I can watch them and they can win me money at the same time. I fucking hate when I have to watch them and they lose and then lose me money at the same time. That's like, God, that sucks. Makes my
Now,
Sunday terrible. But
the one problem we will have with May is at the start of the season at the wide receiver position. I'm not exactly sure from week to week who's going to be the target monster, and that's who you're really going to have to zero in on when you're building
yes,
that stack with him.
that's going to be tough. I've all preseason, all off season, and especially since camp started, I keep saying this is the guy, Demario Douglas. I just feel like, and I know the numbers don't really back it up from last year because you look at these targets, they're just not there. But in a Josh McDaniels offense, Demario Douglas's skill set should dictate that he should see. I'm not saying he's going to. He should see 120, 130 targets this year. And if Josh McDaniels is using him like that, he's the guy. But we also have Efton Chisholm, who might make. I don't know. I haven't seen the news on him yet, but he could make the lineup. If he does, he's the same kind of guy as Demario Douglas. So you're right. It's going to be tough. I think Stephon Diggs probably. I don't know. I just don't. I think he's more of like kind of grooming these young receivers, and he might be a 65 catches from Diggs this year would sort of be exceeding my expectations. So 5, 6 targets a game, I think max for him. But that could kind of end up where everybody is on this roster. So if that's the case, it's going to be like you said. It'd be tough to pair May with anybody, but May's maybe the kind of guy you don't need to pair up with a pass catcher. If he's only going to have 230 passing yards and run for 30, 40 yards and fall in for a touchdown and only throw like 2 touchdowns, then you don't necessarily maybe have you can run him naked. You don't have to pair him up with a
Yeah.
receiver, perhaps. So if his price creeps up into the $7,000 range, then you got to start thinking about it. But I don't know that we'll see that. Yeah. All in all, I'm pretty excited about week 1 here.
I love to build lineups, and so like me and Chris both we hand build a lot of lineups, and we hand build them like for our cash. That's where we play a lot of head to heads together, and then we also play in private rooms with friends and people we've met over the years for money. But we also build, like Chris said earlier in the show, we build 300 lineups in an optimizer, and it's kind of pointless to do that unless you have some of these strategies that we've built for us. So when I build 300 lineups, those 300 lineups are some variation of my hand build. I'm just using the computer to help make different combinations more than anything.
Hey, so we just got a question on YouTube here. We're going to shift gears a little bit because this isn't a DFS question. It's a year-long question, but it's a good one. So Miles has he's thin at running back but deep at wide receiver in his year long, and he's asking if he should do Puka for T. Higgins and Kyren Williams. He's deep at wide receiver but thin at running back. I say yes, absolutely. I think Puka's he's probably gonna have 80, 90 catches this year. I don't know that Puka ends up a top 5 receiver, especially with Devontae Adams there. So I think if you can get T. Higgins and Kyren Williams for Puka, I'm all over that. What do you think?
I would do it, and not because I like Kyren Williams. I really don't like him that much. But T. Higgins, I believe, finished top 5 wide receivers last year. And he had the number 1 wide receiver on his team, Jamal Chase. So, I mean, I would do the trade just for that probably. And then you're getting Kyren Williams. Why not? And Williams is starting every week too, unless something happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyren, especially with the uncertainty at quarterback, I think he's going to get all the workload he can carry the first few weeks of the season. I mean, I think he. Well, man, I need to pull it up here.
I don't like him because his production's not there. He gets a lot of carries, Chris, but he's not very accurate with those carries. I think he averages like 3 yards a carry. I mean, he's just not very optimal with how much work he's been getting over the years.
So I mean, I'm gonna pull him up here real quick. So you see the
those are DraftKings fantasy. Yeah.
It's going to be all year long. Leagues are different, but let's just say you're a full PPR. I mean, he had 350 carries last year and 1,500 yards. I would definitely. I'm all over that. I think it's a no brainer, Miles. If you can get Kyren Williams and T. Higgins for Puka, yeah, I'm doing that, and I'm smiling and high fiving afterward because that's a win for you, I think.
Now, if he gets injured or something, that's all on Chris. That has nothing to do with what I say.
Yeah, true. And I am the kiss of death at running back, just FYI. But thanks for the question.
It looks like he averaged 4.2 yards a carry, which isn't as bad as I thought it was.
No, I mean, I guess, let me see. I just closed it out too. I just wanted to see how many touchdowns he scored.
I have it right here. He scored 17.
Dude, yeah. He had an MVP caliber season last year. If Derrick Henry didn't play last year, I think Kyren Williams would have got a lot more discussion than he did. So, I think that's a great deal. I mean,
but Chris, you look at it's a good deal, but you have to look at players like Gibbs. He averaged 5, almost 6 yards a carry. He had 22 touchdowns. I mean, there was a lot of guys last year that kind of went off.
Yeah, I mean, with
a lot less carries.
For sure. And the argument also, and we've been talking all off season, especially during our best ball drafts, about how the wide receiver position is better to load up on. You kind of want to be deeper at wide out because they get the 100-yard bonus far more often than the running backs do. So it is good to be deeper at wide out than running back, in my opinion. That's how I would probably structure my team as well. But I think if you can get a T. Higgins for Puka, it's not exactly equal.
It's not apples to apples.
It's not apples to apples, but I think Higgins, I mean, okay, I got him right here. Let's look at his last year. Higgins had Let's pull them up here. Higgins had 73 catches, 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. 73, 910. And then Puka had 90, 1104. I mean, hell, dude. Like you said, man, I think it's not exactly 1-to-1, but Higgins ain't a bad wide receiver to have. So,
Not at all.
yeah, I mean, he's the kind of guy I would also want on my team. So, yeah, to me, it just seems like a no-brainer trade. Definitely. Miles, you should do it. And we love the comments. And so please ask them all, because we are the experts and everything we say is right. And, you know, we should
Absolutely not right.
You can't go wrong with us, man. So absolutely, dude.
Just send us $20 in the mail each week. We'll give you the perfect winning lineup.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly.
You won't even have to do the research, Chris. I'll just send you the millionaire lineup for $20.
Yep. And you laugh, but I think there's a lot of at least
is.
Facebook pages where that's happening, dude.
Yeah, it's happened for years. It's funny to watch.
Yeah.
I never, like, I know we're changing the subject on this, but like, I love building DFS lineups. I love Saturday night. The house is quiet. I'm just grinding out. And if I lose, I'm completely fine because it's my lineups. I built them.
Yeah.
But if I was to lose with somebody's lineups I bought, God, I'd feel like a real loser.
Oh, you are. Not you. You too. But I'm saying, like, if you spent $20 on lineups and they lost, yeah, you're definitely a loser, man. Because go do the research yourself, man.
Yeah. And then if I won with those lineups I paid $20 for, then what the hell am I doing? Like,
yep.
I'm probably tying with the other guys who bought the same $20 lineup.
Miles, sorry, I added your comment in too late, but there it is.
There you go.
I'm still learning the StreamYard format, and so figuring out. This wasn't even supposed to be a live show. This just happened live. I thought we were recording for later. So, but I like this better because now Miles' question, we got the answer in real time. So, Miles, you're our only viewer. If you don't mind, dude, asking a bunch of questions and maybe just change your name every time, that'd be great. At least before we get canceled. All right, dude. I don't know, man. I think that's kind of wraps it up. I mean, we kind of started with what did we learn about the preseason, and then we didn't really talk about the preseason too much, but I think we covered what we wanted to well enough. I mean, was there any? Okay, there is one thing I want to talk about. No, we talked about it. We kind of went over Brian Robinson and CMC, right?
Yeah, we did.
Nothing really left to add there.
See, I look at, because I love building lineups so much, I look at the preseason, but I'm not that guy anymore that watches the third string out there against the fourth string offense and get excited about a guy who's maybe going to make the practice squad. I don't look at football like that anymore for some reason. I just look at like who I'm starting week one. Like those are things I'm doing. Like, you can find some gems that way, but they just never. I mean, who's the big off? So preseason, we got Crosby up there in Washington, right? Looks like he's probably going to be taking over the starting position. Everybody's excited. You can see him getting drafted everywhere on draft boards. But I have one problem. He's a 7th round pick in the NFL draft. They have like a 4% hit rate. I think people are drafting the wrong running back to start the season. I think they should be drafting like Rodriguez or something like that, or even Eckler. Now, I could be wrong at the end of the season, but a lot of times preseason will get you really hyped up on a player that doesn't really have that big of a role. Yeah. You usually see it on Hard Knocks. Like whoever the team on Hard Knocks is, you'll start seeing like their 3rd, 4th string wide receivers get drafted in your year-long leagues. It's because people are at home watching Hard Knocks all week.
And you know, that's the thing. People want a rooting interest, so they want to be taking the guys that they got to watch on Hard Knocks because they have sort of a rooting interest now. You know, the thing for me that made especially daily fantasy sports so cool for me was I was always the guy who was just watching. I'm just putting on the Patriots and I'm watching the game. Uh, well, I guess with football, I could always watch any. I could usually watch any NFL game all Sunday long. But with baseball, I'm turning on the Red Sox and that's it. Um, with daily fantasy sports, I started. Now I got a rooting interest in a lot of games, and so now I can watch um, all the baseball games. And my wife fucking hates it, but that's what makes me love. One of the angles I love about daily fantasy sports so much is having a rooting interest in a lot of different teams now. So, um, yeah, I could see that, and I agree. You do see that. The Hard Knocks example is perfect because you'll see it. We should call it the Hard Knocks effect. You'll see guys surge. They'll get a bump in value in these year-long drafts just because they were watching them on TV and they think they're going to be great. I think you're right about Krusky Merritt. There is a little bit of hype there. Now, from a DFS perspective, we don't really get a whole lot out of the pre. I don't want to say we don't get a whole lot out of the preseason, but there's not as much to take away from NFL preseason for a daily fantasy perspective as there is for year long, because with the year long, you just kind of want to know, okay, what's the general role that this guy's going to have, and do I want to draft that? DFS week to week, it changes. We know that a lot of variance there. So the one thing I will say about angles for DFS as it pertains to watching preseason football is, to me, it's all about picking up and finding some edges for the first week or two, because what's so hard about building lineups in week 1 and week 2 is we don't have any previous week's data to go off of. We don't, by the time we get to week 10, the pricing is tight. We know what to expect from most of these guys. Week 1, week 2, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know, we don't know who's going to get the carries in Jacksonville. We don't know who's going to get the carries in Dallas. So preseason can sometimes offer us a glimpse in where we might have a little edge here or there. So that's kind of the only reason I look at it.
You're the one thing I do pay attention to most in preseason is who gets first team reps. That's who you want to see.
Yeah,
who's out there with the first team, and that's going to give you an indicator of who they're going to start. Because you can look online, anybody can pull up a depth chart, but if the guy who's first on the depth chart isn't in first team reps in practice, which every Twitter reporter is reporting who's doing first team reps. And then in these preseason games where the starters do play for 1 or 2 reps, who's starting with them? That is your indicator right there, usually in DFS.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think, man, that does it. We've been on for an hour and 23 minutes now. I don't think I have anything left to add other than to say on Tuesday we'll be back and we'll sort of talk about all this stuff again a little bit more. We may have more clarity on some of these backfields Tuesday as week 1 starters get named. Next week we're going to unveil what we're calling the StadiumRant Fantasy Impact Index. I'll have an article out about it, and we'll have a video breaking down some of the methodology and how to use it, and how to apply it to if you're going to use a lineup optimizer to build 100, 200 lineups, 300 lineups, or how to use it to hand build, 1, 3, 5 lineups. So, and then next week, this show here that's live now will be we're going to go over our favorite week 1 rituals, the things we like to do that first Sunday of football, whether it be, whatever, hanging out, having a party, what food we like to cook, that kind of deal, our favorite rituals. And I guess we will have Hardy, I hope you can do this with me. It'll be a Thursday night game. Maybe we can go live in the hours preceding the Thursday night game and sort of preview the showdown slate. That'd be fun. If not, I'll have one of the other guys do it with me. But yeah, so we're still man, it feels like we're so close but so far away from week
I
one
know.
still. So
got college football DFS next weekend that starts off. So I'm
that's
looking
true,
forward to
yeah.
that one.
I started playing that a little bit last year. We need to talk about that off air because I would like to get into that this year for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that'll do it for us, man. Miles, thanks for the comment. We appreciate the hell out of it. And do not forget to like and subscribe and make sure you put your notifications on so you can see every time we accidentally go live in the future. So, yeah, that's it, man. Thank you for Hardy. I'm Dr. DFS, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.